Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today, we'll be doing a little bit of a primer for week 3. We're going to go through all of the injuries and kind of practice updates from the week, and then we're going to look at every single game, talk about the players to watch, who I think will win, maybe give some hot takes. So, go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And good morning and welcome into everyone here in the chat. Donald, Best Ball, Terminal, Semperfi, Young Dog, Ryan, Literature, To the House, Nick Take, Jake, The Snowman, Jason, Plan B. Good morning to you all. Happy to see you all here. And hey, if you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening as well. Again, guys, the Wake and Take podcast can be found via the link in the description. Everyone, it's Thursday. We got Thursday night football tonight. We'll have games on Sunday. So I figured this is the best time to just go ahead and get an early look at what we should be expecting this weekend, do a little bit of an injury rundown, give some news from the week, and then we'll go game by game by game by game by game, making our picks, talking fantasy football, all that fun stuff. Before we get into it, I did want to mention last night I went on the Dynasty Roundtable with Seth Dewald and Matt Babbage over on Seth Dewald's YouTube channel. Highly recommend checking that out. We did a great job kind of just talking about some buys, sells, holds, really just trade talks in general around some of the trending players so far through the season. So highly recommend that episode. Go check out the Dynasty Roundtable over on Seth Dewald's YouTube channel. Me, him, Matt Babbage were chopping it up last night. It was a great time. So go check out that episode. Guys, let's jump right into the news. And I just want to start with a couple news stories before we get into it, because for the most part in season, we know it. News is just going to be injuries, right? Like there's really not too much happening in the world of sports. And if there is something big, we've already talked about it, like Bryce Young being benched or whatever, like it's Andy Dalton season, at least for a little bit. We don't necessarily know what their plan is. We know that the Panthers said they're not trading Bryce Young. We know that this decision kind of came out of nowhere, at least to Bryce Young's eyes. But we do know that Andy Dalton will be starting at least this week. My take on that is that Andy Dalton, will probably be the starter for the next few weeks, but I'm sure they're going to go back to Bryce Young at some point. I think it's possible that they're looking at this, like maybe we should have sat our rookie a little bit. Like this is just a really bad offensive line. The things really aren't clicking yet, so let's just not ruin his confidence any more than it already has. Let's pull him out, throw Andy Dalton in there, see what he can do, and then hopefully after some time, a little bit of a reset, Bryce Young can go back out there and be the Bryce Young he was drafted to be. But I don't think it's time to give up on that player. We see these 101s bounce around from team to team to team. Even if he's not on the Panthers anymore, he'll probably be starting somewhere else next year. So if you can get Bryce Young pretty cheap, I would honestly go ahead and recommend doing it, depending on what that cheap means. But if you can get him, at a really good cost in Superflex, I don't see why not. But actual news stories that I wanted to talk about, and maybe not actual news, maybe that's a poor way to put it, but I just kind of wanted to give a PSA to us football fans. 2 huge and really disappointing stories have come out over the last 24, 48 hours. One of them, well, really they're along the same vein. But the first one, Dan Campbell's address was actually leaked over the weekend. And people have been showing up to his house, being, mean because of the loss, doing, just basically trespassing, all that fun stuff, because his address was leaked. Dan Campbell actually had to put his house on the market because of this. And Will Levis, his phone number was leaked over the weekend, and he has been getting inundated with a bunch of different kind of rage calls from Tennessee Titans fans, and to where he's had to get a whole new phone number. And I know that this is kind of the downside of fame, but also football fans, just be cool. Like, these are humans too, guys. Like, I know that we may be disappointed in Will Levis. I'm sure Lions fans were upset that they lost to the Buccaneers, right? But that doesn't give you any excuse to be an asshole. It doesn't give you any excuse to invade anyone's privacy. So just take a chill pill, guys. I just want to send that PSA out there. There's no reason that a head coach or a quarterback need to change some of their personal things just because people are mad at them, right? Like, it's like Will Levis shouldn't have to change his phone number, like even if his phone number was leaked, no one should be like bullying him over his phone number, like sending death threats and stuff like this. It's just ridiculous. If you know Dan Campbell's address, you shouldn't be showing up to a man's house. Come on, guys. Like, this is just ridiculous. So I'm seeing these news stories, and it's really just making me upset. It's ridiculous. So again, if you are one of these people that maybe just, can't handle being cool, if you just like being an asshole, just stop. If you're not doing this, keep doing what you're doing. But I just wanted to make this PSA, guys. These are humans out there too. I know they affect our fandom. I know they affect our fantasy football teams. But that gives us absolutely no excuse to be a bad human being on this planet, right? Like, we're all here one time. Let's just be nice to each other. Let's just be chill. Let's enjoy some football. Let's not be dangerous. Let's not be rude. Let's not be mean. Let's just have some fun while we're here spinning around on this rock we call Earth. So anyway, that's just the PSA and NFL news I wanted to go over. Let's go ahead and now jump into the injury rundown before we go any further. And like I said, really, I mean, like, this is the news. This is all we care about in season, really, is who's hurt. How long should we expect them out? Who should we pick up? Like, that is basically all the stories going on right now in the NFL. So, here's an injury rundown, just kind of going through people who are limited or did not practice this week. We'll start with Tyler Algier. He picked up a hip injury in the game. He's limited, probably fine. Second, Rome Odunze, his knee injury that he played through last week, limited at practice, probably going to be playing through again, so don't really worry. But Keenan Allen, he is still not practicing with his heel injury. Looks like Keenan Allen will not be playing yet again this week. So, just go ahead and have a contingency plan in place. Not sure what that is, but get Keenan Allen off your lineup. Looking like he's not going to play again. Then we have David Njoku. David Njoku is still not practicing with his ankle injury, so it looks like it'll be Jordan Akins out there again. And then CeeDee Lamb, he is not practicing as well with an ankle injury. But, this is CeeDee Lamb. So I think, yes, he's not practicing, but it was also a Wednesday practice. So definitely something to monitor. CeeDee Lamb will probably play. This is just one of those players, right? These superstars, they just play. They play through injuries, especially the Cowboys coming off a tough loss. So I would expect CeeDee Lamb to be out there, but maybe expect less volume or something. Maybe avoid him at DFS. Maybe that would be the best advice I could give with CeeDee Lamb not practicing. But either way, definitely monitor his ankle injury. Jake Ferguson, he had a knee injury, missed last week's game due to it, but he did return to practice this week. Jake Ferguson is out there, so expect him to play this week. Definitely still expect a limited role in the game plan, but at least he'll be out there playing. Jaden Reed picked up a calf injury and has not been practicing this week. Definitely something to monitor, but I mean, with Malik Willis, well, actually, as we'll talk about in a second, Jordan Love limited. And actually, there's a chance that Jordan Love returns this week to play football. So definitely something to monitor for both these players. Jaden Reed, I mean, you're probably sitting anyway, especially if Malik Willis is the quarterback. But if Jordan Love is out there, then you might want to start Jaden Reed, even with this injury. But still, definitely keep your eye on it. There's a high chance that Jaden Reed is out this week with this calf injury, especially if Jordan Love is out again. If Jordan Love's out there, expect Jaden Reed to play. I would say if Malik Willis is out there, Jaden Reed will probably take another week and rest up. And then hopefully we can see Jordan Love next week. Hopefully we can see Jordan Love this week, right? Like, hopefully we see him here in week 3. Unlikely, I would assume, but he is practicing now. The reports are saying he's about 50-50 at this point in time to play this week. So just keep your eye on Jordan Love. Keep your eye on Jaden Reed over the weekend. If Jaden Reed is out and Jordan Love plays, this could be a huge Christian Watson game potentially. So just keep your eye on that. Next, we have Marshawn Lloyd on the Packers. He was actually placed on IR. We mentioned he picked up an ankle injury on Monday's kind of reaction show, Tuesday's waiver show as well. He was placed on IR after that. This is due to his ankle injury. But I'm sure that he was also placed on IR a little bit because of the hamstring injury that he played through last week. I think that Marshawn Lloyd is just getting hurt. And I think that the Packers just want to make sure he's 100% before they rush him back out there. Because Josh Jacobs is also battling an injury. He was limited last week with the same injury, has a back injury that he's playing through so far. Played through it in last week's game, will probably still play through it this week. But it's definitely something to monitor as, this is an older running back that's getting a ton of opportunity. If he's playing through an injury, that's not really what you want to see. Like that kind of suggests that he might actually get truly injured if he keeps playing through this thing. So just keep your eye on Josh Jacobs' back. Marshawn Lloyd is placed on IR. So if he's dropped anywhere, pick him up. If you can get him cheap in Dynasty, trade for him. Marshawn Lloyd still has a lot of explosiveness. I think we do have to be worried about his injuries, which makes him acquirable now. But still, Try to get him if you can. Placed on IR. Next, Nico Collins. Nico Collins has picked up 2 injuries and did not practice on Wednesday. He has a hip injury and a foot injury. This is definitely something to monitor. This kind of came out of nowhere. Hopefully, I mean, Nico Collins seems like the type of wide receiver that would play through this type of stuff, but you would kind of hope to see at least a limited practice. So keep your eye on that over the weekend. If Nico Collins continues to not practice, I wouldn't really expect him to play. I mean, they have enough weapons. Dalton Schultz has picked up a limited practice, so it looks like he's trending to play this week as well. They still have Stephon Diggs, and maybe Tank Dell can finally have a good game if Nico Collins is out. So definitely monitor this. Nico Collins has not practiced yet this week, has a hip injury, has a foot injury. Definitely something to be concerned about going forward. Keep our eye on that. Also on the Texans, we have Joe Mixon not practicing with an ankle injury. And this is really important to monitor as Dameon Pierce is also not practicing due to a hamstring injury. If Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce do not pick up practices this week and end up being out, it's just going to be the Cam Akers show, guys. Literally just going to be the Cam Akers show. So definitely take a flyer on Cam Akers if he's out there in any of your leagues. See what you can see just in case, because he might actually end up being a spot start this week for a lot of RB needy teams. Keep your eye on the Texans running backs as both Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce are not practicing. And maybe even take a deeper flyer on Jawar Jordan just in case he gets elevated from that practice squad. But it's looking like it could possibly be a Cam Akers spot start this week with both Mixon and Pierce not practicing. Evan Ingram missed last week with a pregame hamstring injury. So far, there's been no practice update or really any update on this injury at all. So I would assume, especially given it's a hamstring, that he is probably out. He is probably out this week, but definitely keep your eye on it just in case. Yeah, I don't really know. If he is out again, you could probably pick up Brenton Strange. He looked pretty decent. He has some athleticism. Evan Ingram, no practice update. Picked up a really late hamstring injury heading into last week's game, so I doubt he plays this week. Isaiah Pacheco underwent successful surgery for his fractured fibula, and he's still expected to have that 6 to 8 week timeline after being placed on IR. This is good news, as of course Isaiah Pacheco, we were wondering that there were some reports coming out that he might actually end up missing the whole season, depending on how the surgery goes, but it was successful. Things look good. Still has the original 6 to 8 week timeline. And this was a bone injury, so he should, heal up completely, really. Those generally are able to come back a little bit easier from per the research I've put in. So look to maybe acquire Isaiah Pacheco cheap, throw him on your IR for the next few weeks until he returns. And then also, as we'll talk about with this Chiefs game, take flyers on any of the Chiefs running backs while they're out. I'm very curious to see how it looks. I'm expecting a full-blown committee, but you might as well take them all just in case. Even pick up Clyde Edwards-Helaire in case he comes off the IR from his or NFI from his PTSD kind of situation that he's going through. Either way, Isaiah Pacheco out for the next 6 to 8 weeks, but successful surgery should be good to go when he returns. 2 Chargers have picked up injuries and not practicing. Justin Herbert has an ankle injury. Probably nothing to worry about. He'll probably still be out there to play. Jim Harbaugh really, really likes to rest his quarterback. We saw that Jim Harbaugh actually told Joey Bosa to stop high-fiving Justin Herbert. So it just seems that they're very, very cautious in Los Angeles. Justin Herbert is the type of quarterback to play through anything, so I'm not really worried about it. And he's already not really having a ton of pass volume anyway. So things should remain relatively the same for Justin Herbert. And then Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer has an elbow and a calf injury and not practicing. So just kind of keep your eye on Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston this week as they may have an even more elevated role. Although Josh Palmer hasn't really been involved anyway. So probably more of a non-factor, but still definitely something to monitor as he is not practicing. Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp officially has a high ankle sprain per a report about a couple hours ago. Is doubtful this week. In fact, he's out this week. Don't even worry about the doubtful tag. He's not going to play. Good news in this situation, though, is that the Rams have not placed him on IR yet. We'll see. I mean, they could still definitely do that. But I would expect if he's not placed on IR this week, that he will not be placed on IR and will return within 4 weeks, which is good news. He'll probably be less than 100% when he returns. High ankle sprains are very, very hard to play through. But still, not placed on IR is definitely good news. Maybe if you can get Cooper Kupp, it might be worth it, but I don't know. It's honestly, he's probably classified more as a hold right now, or sell really if you can get a good Cooper Kupp return. Moving from Cooper Kupp to the Miami Dolphins, we have 2 running backs who are limited. So Raheem Mostert with his chest injury is limited this week. And Jeff Wilson has also been limited with an oblique injury. Just keep your eye on this. Keep your eye on this for sure over the weekend. See what happens if they get a full practice. I would expect both of these guys to be out there since they're limited practices. But it is possible with Jeff Wilson having an oblique injury. This is what's sidelining Kenneth Walker right now, that he is out this week, and then Jalen Wright sees the field again. So that's really the big thing to monitor. If, Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson are active, what happens with Jalen Wright? Is he a healthy scratch again or not? That's definitely something to keep your eye on here. But Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, both limited. Their quarterback on the Dolphins, Tua, he landed on injured reserve with his concussion. Reports have come out that he's not stepping away from football, that he wants to keep playing. But he was put on IR with this injury so he could meet with outside neurologists and spend some more time thinking about this situation. I will say, to me, it seems that Tua just wants to ball. To me, when I heard the report that he's already said that he doesn't want to walk away from football, that says enough to me. He barely thought about it, it seems like. This is his life. He's been playing it his whole life. He's put everything into it. These players, they don't really care about their long-term health after football. They really, really don't. So definitely something to monitor over the next few weeks. But to me, it seems that Tua will be returning at some point this season. So if you can get him pretty cheap right now, probably go ahead and do it. Next, we have Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison missed last week's game with an ankle injury and is still not practicing. So expect him to be out again this week and Jalen Naylor to step up. And Justin Jefferson, he picked up a quad injury in the game, kind of played through it. He has been limited at practice this week. He's come out and said he's fine. He says he's going to play. Coaching staff expects him to play as well. So Justin Jefferson limited, but still expected to play through his quad injury. Next, moving to the New Orleans Saints, Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is not practicing, but the coaching staff and the New Orleans Saints are hopeful that he will be able to pick up a limited practice today. This was a chest injury that he went to the hospital to get scanned on. Everything came back negative. It seemed that he avoided a bad injury, so things should be fine for Taysom Hill. Definitely keep your eye on it, though. If he doesn't pick up a limited today or tomorrow, his status comes into more question. So far, not practicing, but he is expected to practice by the end of the week. So just keep your eye on that if you're a Taysom Hill manager. Moving from Taysom Hill to the Eagles, we've got A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown picked up a hamstring injury last week in practice, missed the game, still not practicing. I would definitely not expect A.J. Brown to play this week. We heard in the game that he reported and said to one of the sideline reporters that he doesn't expect to play for a couple weeks. He expects to miss a couple weeks due to this hamstring injury. So not practicing, probably out again this week. It'll be interesting to see if the Eagles continue to go back to Britton Covey or if they do start to use Jahan Dotson more, or maybe Dallas Goedert. I don't really know, but it is just curious to see this Eagles passing offense without A.J. Brown. Moving from A.J. Brown to the Steelers, Roman and Russell Wilson, the two R Wilsons on the Pittsburgh Steelers, have both picked up limited practices. At some point, Roman Wilson's going to return. At some point, Russell Wilson will be active. The Steelers have come out and said that they're preparing Justin Fields to be the starter yet again. Again, I don't really think Russell Wilson takes this job unless something really bad happens to Justin Fields or he just looks really, really terrible for a couple game stretch. Both limited. Roman Wilson's been picking up these limited practices all season and still hasn't actually gotten to play. So definitely something to keep your eye on. Roman Wilson, limited. Russell Wilson, limited. Next, the 49ers. Deebo Samuel, doubtful with a calf injury, did not practice this week, is avoiding IR, it looks like, but definitely not going to play this week. So just look to see what the rest of the 49ers look like. Jacob Cowing, Jawan Jennings, maybe Ronnie Bell. I'm feeling a big George Kittle week. That generally tends to be the case. If there's no Deebo, it's a Kittle game. So if you have Kittle, I would fire him up. And then Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall is back at practice. Ricky Pearsall returned to practice this week. I thought he landed on IR, but he was just listed as out. So it is possible, I guess, we see Ricky Pearsall this week. It's strange, actually. I thought he was on IR, but on the ESPN injury report, he's just listed as out, not on IR. So definitely something to monitor. If he is practicing, probably not going to return this week, but maybe next, Ricky Pearsall, someone to keep your eye on. And then Christian McCaffrey, he landed on IR, and I somehow missed part of this news. I saw he landed on IR, so I just kind of took that as, okay, he's missing the next 4 weeks, and then he'll be back at 100%. But Ian Rappaport reported that he's likely to be out 6 weeks or more as he's recovering from this injury. So that is very confusing to me. I really think the 49ers are not telling us the whole picture here. I think it's more than just Achilles tendonitis, if I'm going to be honest with you. But we really don't know either because it seems that the 49ers are not really being honest. But either way, Christian McCaffrey is expected to be out at least 6 weeks per Ian Rappaport. So definitely monitor that situation. Next, we have Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is still not practicing with his oblique injury, and I saw a video footage of him practicing, and he ran once, grabbed his side, did not look good. I'm expecting that he's at least a couple more weeks from returning to the field. So stash Kenny McIntosh just in case. And yeah, just in case, I guess. And but for the most part, it's going to be Zach Charbonnet, who didn't really look good, who really didn't even look that good. So I don't even know if we can call him a smash start, but it was the Patriots defense. So we'll see how they look this week. But either way, Kenneth Walker not expected to play this week. Okay, Ricky Pearsall is on PUP. That's what I thought. So the ESPN injury report is just wrong. So we still have to wait a couple more weeks for Ricky Pearsall. I'm not sure why it's listed that way on ESPN, because that's what I thought. I thought he was on IR or PUP or whatever, but it didn't show that. It was weird. Anyway, moving to the Seahawks, or still on the Seahawks, I guess, from Kenneth Walker to DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf did not practice on Wednesday due to a hand injury. I mean, you don't want to see a hand injury for a wide receiver at all. So definitely monitor this thing, I would say, because Tyler Lockett is also limited with a thigh injury. This might be a huge JSN week. I'm expecting both, even with DK Metcalf to not practice, I'm expecting him to play. It's DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett had the same injury last week and played, just wasn't utilized a lot. So if both these guys are going to be limited in practice this week, they're probably going to be limited in the game as well. So look for JSN to have a huge week if that happens. Keep your eye on the DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett injuries. Rachaad White is limited with his groin injury that he picked up and played through in the Lions game, so things should be fine in that regard. Rachaad White limited with his groin injury. Probably going to be playing since he played through it last week, but definitely still, if Bucky Irving's still available, or if you can even trade for him for a decent price, go ahead and do that. And lastly, Tyjae Spears. He picked up an injury in this week's game, an ankle injury. He is still not practicing this week. It seems that his status for the game is going to come into question as we get closer to kickoff. So if you've got Tony Pollard, he becomes a smash start. But you've also got to pick up, who is it? Who is it? Who is it actually? What is the Titans depth chart? Who the hell? I feel like some stupid guy, right? Not stupid. That's the wrong way to put it. But just some dode. Yeah, Julius Chestnut. So if Julius Chestnut is out there, maybe go ahead and take a flyer on him just in case. But yeah, that is the injury rundown. You guys stick around. I'm going to play a little bit of an ad break. We're going to hear about the player profiler player rankings, and then we're going to come back and play the pick'em. We're going to go game by game, talk about those games for a little bit, what I'm expecting to see this weekend, given my takes and all that. So stick around after we hear about these player rankings.
Hey, this will just take a second. I want to talk about our player rankings, the weekly rankings, the weekly projections. Billy, Theo, and our analytics geniuses getting your start, sit decisions dialed in that flex tab. And then you get the season rankings. Want to make add drop decisions? The season rankings are updated every week all year. And you have the best dynasty rankings ever as part of the player rankings package. And don't forget the offensive line rankings. Dan Fornick, one of the best in the business. New running back starting this week. Hey, is that offensive line top 10? Yeah, okay, start him. And we rank the cornerbacks out to like CB100 with the corresponding receiver they're going to be matched up with most this coming week. The player rankings are the thing you need during the season on PlayerProfiler.com. Check it out.
Go check out those player rankings. They are incredible. Get them. Seasonal, weekly, dynasty, FFPC, Scott Fish Bowl. All of the rankings are there, and we're hoping to be able to add IDP next season as well. So, yeah, cool. That is the ad break. We are here looking at week 3. We're going to go over to the Wake and Take Yahoo Pick'em League. Currently, I am in second place, but we do have it set up to drop your lowest performing week. I think I would be in first if it was cumulative. But last week, we went 10-6. The week before that, we went 9-7. So far, we're a little over 50%, a little over 500. Things are looking pretty decent here. We're having some fun with it. We're picking upsets, all that fun stuff. let's go. First game, New York Jets versus the New England Patriots in New York. The Jets are favored by 6 points. Okay. Well, the Patriots will definitely cover that. Not sure about who wins. I'll be honest with you. I think, it's the AFC East, so these are always some boring-ass games. This is not really going to be that fun of a game to watch tonight. We've seen the Patriots be very, very competitive now through 2 weeks, so I think a 6-point spread is actually kind of ridiculous. I'm surprised to see that. So we'll definitely take the Patriots to cover the spread. I do think the Jets win it. I think they'll win it maybe by 3 or something like that. And expect, really, Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson to be fine in this game. I think the player we'll be watching the most on the Jets, really, is if Braylon Allen gets the same type of usage. That could be huge for Braylon Allen truthers out there if he continues to get that type of snap and opportunity share on this offense. On the Patriots side of the ball, I mean, it's just the Ramondre Stevenson show, right? I mean, I am curious to see if Hunter Henry can get another double-digit target game, I guess. But for the most part, we've seen this Patriots offense. They're not that great for fantasy. They're more of an NFL offense, they're good, but they're not really scoring us fantasy points, so we're not really getting too excited there. Yeah, I am curious to see who Sauce Gardner matches up against, I guess. That could be a huge learning curve for Jalen Polk or something like that. But either way, Patriots easily cover this 6-point spread. Yeah, but I will say the Jets win it. I think the Jets do win it, but we'll go with the Patriots to cover the spread here. Cleveland hosting the New York Giants, favored by 6.5. That's also a big spread. That is a big, big spread. Man. We will go. I think, Jesus. The Browns defense is so bad, or offense is so bad, but the New York Giants defense is so bad. And the Browns defense is so good. And the Giants offense is also so bad. So we're going to go with Cleveland covering. I think Cleveland can cover that 6.5-point spread. I think they could win this game pretty handedly, actually. God, it's tough. But I just think that really Jerome Ford, this should be a huge Jerome Ford game. I could see him just kind of getting like 20-plus carries and just running over this New York Giants team. The spread is kind of where I was getting caught up. I mean, I think the Browns win this game. But we saw Malik Neighbors have a pretty good week last week, and they continue to just feed him the ball. I mean, this offense will click at some point. Devin Singletary looked fine as well, but this is just a tough matchup for them. This is a really good defense. So I think they'll go back to how they looked week one, like against the Vikings, which was just putrid. So we're going to go Browns, and we're calling a Jerome Ford game. But this could be a huge opportunity for Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper has been very, very quiet so far, outperformed by Elijah Moore and Jerry Jeudy. Keep your eye on that. Amari Cooper could have a big game against these Giants. Now, of course, that's going to come down to Deshaun Watson, but still. I'm feeling a Jerome Ford game, but this is also a great game for Amari Cooper to kind of reestablish himself as the wide receiver he is. And, of course, on the Giants side of the ball, we're just watching Malik Neighbors. Can he get another 18-targeter? That would be ridiculous. Next, we have Titans hosting the Packers, favored by 3. Here's the deal, right? God, that is another one. These are some tough spreads this week. We just saw the Packers do really well with Malik Willis, actually. The defense looked good. The offense was fine. We'll say fine. And I would expect that to continue, especially since the Tennessee Titans have not looked good. So you know what? We're going to go with the Packers. We're going to say Malik Willis beats his Titans in a little bit of a revenge game, actually. We're going to go with a win for the Packers, too, not just a spread cover. I think Will Levis is going to continue to struggle, really, at least in terms of the turnover department. Green Bay Packers will take the win here. We talked about it in the show. We're calling right now Malik Willis in the revenge game, but we talked about it in the injury report. Jordan Love is at 50-50 right now. Has picked up a limited practice. It's very possible Jordan Love plays. And if Jordan Love plays, they definitely win this game. But I honestly think the Packers can beat the Titans with Malik Willis too. So we're going to go with the Packers here. I guess can't really go too much into the Packers. It really comes down to what quarterback is playing. So If Malik Willis is out there, hopefully Josh Jacobs has another big game. If Jordan Love is out there, hopefully these wide receivers have a big game. But just keep your eye on the quarterback play. On the Titans side of the ball, this is a huge game for Will Levis. Will Levis needs to show up. He needs to show up soon because Mason Rudolph, say what you want about him, he's a good backup, and he can come in and probably play a little bit better than Will Levis has been. So definitely getting worried as a Will Levis manager. I was pretty much in on him very heavily this season, really. I thought he could do it, but he's turning the ball over, making some bad decisions. I think that continues this week, and the Packers win. Next, we have the Colts heading to Chicago. Colts favored by 1. We're going to give the Bears their first win of the season. I think I guess they beat the Titans. We'll give the Bears the second win of the season over the Indianapolis Colts. 1 point, especially for a home team, obviously means that Vegas thinks the Bears would win if they were at home. And I just don't know if the Colts home field advantage is really that big of a deal, especially in Indianapolis. That's very close to Chicago. So I think the Bears fans can definitely travel well here. And I just think that the Chicago defense is going to give Anthony Richardson some fits. That's a very, very good defense. And Anthony Richardson is turning the ball over a lot, especially in the interception department. And I think with that, the Chicago Bears will be able to put it together. The Colts defense isn't that good. I think this is definitely a huge opportunity for Caleb Williams and the Bears to turn it around. Keep your eye on this game for sure. I would recommend buying Bears before this game. I really think they can turn it around in this one alone. And I'm picking the Bears to win. Get DeAndre Swift, get Rome Odunze, get Caleb Williams, get DJ Moore if you can before it's too late. On the Colts side of the ball, this is huge, right? This is a tough defense that they're going against. So, Anthony Richardson, can you win as a passer? Can you win as a runner? Can you even win this game, right? Like, this is a huge opportunity for Anthony Richardson to establish himself as an NFL caliber quarterback. He's doing it in the fantasy department, but he's not really doing it in the NFL department. His accuracy rating is terrible. His completion percentage is terrible. And his processing really hasn't been that great. So this is a big opportunity for him against a tough defense to kind of put the team on his back and see what he could do. So that's really what we're watching out for, is how good Anthony Richardson can be. Next, we have the Texans heading to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Vikings 2-0, Texans 2-0. This is a big game, but Justin Jefferson's a little dinged up. And I've got to be honest with you, I am not buying the Sam Darnold hype. I am not buying the Sam Darnold hype at all. This is what we see from him time and time again. He looks really good for a couple game stretch, and then he turns back into Sam Darnold. I think this Houston Texans defense is one that could cause him some fits. You know, I thought the 49ers defense could do it, but it makes sense. I mean, he was on that team last year, so he practiced against them a lot. I'm sure he understood a lot of the concepts already. This one in Houston, this is just a different type of defense. This is a player-led defense, right? Not really much of the scheme. It's just Jalen Petre's a stud, Derek Stingley's a stud, Will Anderson's a stud. I think all of those guys could definitely give Sam Darnold fits in different ways, and I think that we'll see Sam Darnold have a less than 200-yard passing game with at least 2 turnovers as well. I think we get a standard Sam Darnold game against the Texans, leading the Texans to win this game. We have to keep an eye on the running backs. As we talked about, Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce are out, so if Cam Akers is the lead guy, how good does he look in this game? And then if Nico Collins is out, he's also battling an injury. Can we see Tank Dell again? Can we see a big Tank Dell week? That could be huge. So definitely get Tank Dell before it's too late as well. I'm definitely still believing in him. CJ Stroud loves him. You know, they will have a Tank Dell game at some point. Acquire Dell before that happens. On the Vikings side of the ball, we're just watching Justin Jefferson and Sam Darnold, right? I mean, like Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler, they're kind of splitting it. But Justin Jefferson, less than 100%. Can he still be a stud? Sam Darnold, can he do it again? Can he keep it up? That's what we're watching out here for. South Sco has a great comment here in the chat. Don't buy the Sam Darnold hype, but you can buy the Kevin O'Connell hype. And this is true. This is definitely true. If Kevin O'Connell, we saw lots of success with his quarterbacks, whatever name, when Kirk Cousins went down, you know, Jaron Hall, Joshua Dobbs, and Nick Mullins, they all looked fine. So it makes sense that Sam Darnold looks fine, but I do think he'll turn back into Sam Darnold at some point, seeing those ghosts at some point. Robert Kelly says, would you rather buy low on Dell or Pickens? Before we move on, while we're on the Texans, I will say Tank Dell. I want Tank Dell. I really want Tank Dell. Moving on, we have the Saints hosting the Eagles. Saints hosting the Eagles. They're looking incredible. Can they keep things going? I'm going to go with yes. We just watched the Falcons beat this team. I think it'll be close. 3 points is a fair spread. You know what? We'll go with the Eagles cover that 3 points. I think the Saints win. God. Saints cover the 3. Saints beat the Eagles. No A.J. Brown. I think it'll be tough for the Eagles to hang with the Saints defense. And then the Saints offense looks incredible right now with their new scheme. They should be able to pick apart this Eagles defense right now. The Eagles might be fired up coming off their loss, but the Saints are just rolling right now. Very hard to bet against them. Let's go with them. A big thing to watch, Chris Olave, right? Can Chris Olave finally get a heavy target game? This could end up being a little bit of a shootout, more than what the Saints have seen so far. So hopefully Chris Olave gets some volume. Also, if this is a neutral game script, can Rashid Shaheed get utilized a bit more in terms of the target department as well? That's going to be a big storyline. And then we're, of course, just watching Taysom Hill. If he plays, how does he look? All that fun stuff. On the Eagles, with no A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, does he keep it going? He looked incredible against the Falcons. He was moving all over the field, playing in the slot, playing out wide. I'm sure that'll continue. Devontae Smith should still be a huge part of this game. Saquon Barkley, of course, can he bounce back after kind of losing the game for the Eagles? I'm sure he will. He looked incredible up to that point. And then just the wide receivers outside of A.J. Brown and, including Dallas Goedert. Is it a Britton Covey game again? Do they start to use Jahan Dotson more? That's really what we're going to keep our eye on here in this game. But I think the Saints keep rolling in this one. Next, we have the Steelers versus the Chargers. Steelers favored by 1.5. It's in Pittsburgh. Ooh, man. I'm feeling the Chargers. I think the Chargers win this game. Yeah. Oh, man. Pittsburgh. We're going with the Steelers. TJ Watt is just too good. And Justin Fields has been playing really well, too, at least in terms of just managing the game. I think he keeps it up in this game. I think this is just another slow, methodical Pittsburgh Steelers game. But I don't think the Chargers really have what it takes on defense unless Justin Fields just starts to make mistakes to win this game. They're at home. I think the defense could give Justin Herbert some fits. It's the Steelers. I'm going to go with them beating the Chargers at home, covering that 1.5 point spread. Man, next. Tampa Bay versus the Broncos. Tampa's favored by 7. They're at home, so we'll give it to them. I wish it was like 6.5. 7's a lot, but this Broncos team really isn't that good. And the Buccaneers team is very, very good. Keep your eye on the Rachaad White, Bucky Irving split for sure. Definitely, guys, you got to try to get Bucky Irving as quickly as possible. Things are looking pretty bleak for Rachaad White. But then also, can Chris Godwin keep it going? I think he can. I think Chris Godwin in the slot is just a magical thing. And then on the Broncos side of the ball, the backfield, does Jaleel McLaughlin bounce back? Does Javonte Williams bounce back? Who's kind of the featured back this week? Probably McLaughlin. I think that this will be a negative game script, which should benefit McLaughlin. But last week we saw kind of the same thing, and they just kind of let Javonte Williams stay in there. So definitely important to watch. And I'm also watching out for Troy Franklin. He had his first game last week, didn't get targeted. Hopefully he can get some targets this week and build that connection. Next, we have the Raiders versus the Panthers. Raiders favored by 5.5 at home, coming off the win against the Ravens. I think they keep things going. I know Andy Dalton looked pretty good last year, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm expecting that type of performance from Andy Dalton again, especially against this scrappy Raiders defense. I think the Raiders win this game pretty handedly as well. This is just a bad Panthers defense. I think Brock Bowers, maybe Zamir. This should be a Zamir White game. If this is not a Zamir White game, it's officially time to panic. For now, I've still been holding tight on Zeus. I think he'll be fine. He is still out touching Alexander Madison. He hasn't looked very good, but they've also had some tough matchups. This one is not. If we can't have a good Zamir White game against the Panthers, it's officially time to panic, but definitely something to monitor here. And then on the Panthers side of the ball, just, how good do they look with Andy Dalton? Is that really the change they needed? It's going to be very, very interesting to watch that unfold. The rest of the pass catchers, who steps up? Is it Adam Thielen again? Is it Deontay Johnson again? Is it Xavier Legette? Is it Jatavian Sanders? Is it Chuba Hubbard? Either way, it's going to be very interesting to watch. I am firing up Chuba Hubbard this week. I think Andy Dalton will check down to him a lot. Next, we have the Seahawks hosting the Skylar Thompson-led Dolphins. Favored by 4.5. That feels like a lot. I know we have a backup quarterback. I think the Seahawks still win this game, but I think the Dolphins can cover. I think this will be a field goal game. Banged up DK Metcalf, banged up Tyler Lockett. Dolphins, they don't have Tua, but they still have Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, and Jalen Waddle. They should be able to be competitive in this one. The defense is still fine. I know they got torched by the Bills, but that's the Bills for crying out loud. So I think the Dolphins can cover that 4.5. I think the Seahawks still win it, though. I think the Seahawks do still win this game, but definitely we'll go with the Dolphins covering. Keep your eye on Jalen Wright, right? Like, what kind of opportunity does he get again? Does Raheem Mostert play? Is Jalen Wright even playing? Is he a healthy scratch again? That's kind of just the big thing I'm watching. And then, of course, just how does Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle look with Skylar Thompson? I think they'll be fine. I think it'll be a lot of just get the ball out of Thompson's hands quick. Not really many long developing routes or anything like that, which will be fine. Just rely on the yak of Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, and Tyreek Hill, and they should be fine. Next, we have the Ravens traveling to Dallas. The Ravens favored by 1.5. But I think the Cowboys win this game. I think they bounce back this week. I think the Ravens continue on their skid, to be honest with you. Go to 0-3, fall to the Cowboys. I don't know. Dallas at home. I know they just lost at home, but I don't think they'll lose at home 2 weeks in a row. It's a tough game against the Ravens for sure. But 1.5 in favor of the Ravens doesn't feel right. I know the Cowboys just got embarrassed, but they were also pretty good against the Browns. So I think they could easily bounce back in this game against the Ravens. I think the Cowboys actually win this one. We'll go with a slight upset here and go with the Cowboys. Big thing to watch on Baltimore, just their game plan. Is Mark Andrews more involved? Does Isaiah Likely get some more usage? Zay Flowers, is it still him? I'll, of course, be keeping my eye on if we could finally get a Devontae Walker start, but it seems that they just want to keep trusting Nelson Aguilar in that spot for now, which is supremely disappointing. But either way, keep an eye on that. And then on the Cowboys, just, the wide receivers outside of CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks. Does Ryan Flournoy finally get activated? That's what we're keeping an eye on in Dallas. But I think they win this game. I think that Ezekiel Elliott and Rico Dowdle both have like 50 yards and a touchdown. I think Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb have a pretty decent game. We'll go with the Cowboys bounce back this week against the Ravens. Next, we have the Niners versus the Rams. Niners favored by 7.5 in Los Angeles. I know the Rams don't have Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua, but 7.5 sounds like a lot. I mean, San Francisco doesn't have Christian McCaffrey or Deebo Samuel. So we'll say the Rams cover this. I do still think the 49ers win, but 7.5 seems like a lot, even with the circumstances going against the Rams. They still have Kyron. I think they could scheme open Jordan Whittington a little bit. I'm not really too worried about the Rams too much, at least to cover that spread. This is a divisional game, we see time and time again, these divisional games usually stay pretty close. So we'll go with the Rams cover that 7.5, but the 49ers still win. Again, talked about it a little earlier. This feels like a George Kittle game to me. With no Deebo Samuel, with no Christian McCaffrey, with Brandon Ayuk not playing that well, I think you just got to go with George Kittle this week. If you've got him, you're probably already firing him up. But I think to me, George Kittle's a good DFS play as well. I like George Kittle a lot this week. And then the Rams with no Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. Who's the main guy? My take is Jordan Whittington. I think Jordan Whittington is going to be a lot more involved this week. I think they're going to actually scheme some plays for him this week. So look for Jordan Whittington if he's available in your leagues. But also DeMarcus Robinson probably becomes a flex play. Maybe Tutu Atwell. I'm not really in the Tyler Johnson sweepstakes. I don't know. I think he just has a very abysmal athletic profile. It's hard for me to get excited about that player. Look for Jordan Whittington, in my opinion, to get some, like we saw in the preseason, right, where he just got some creative play designs that seem to be created just for him. I think we'll see that this week with no Puka, no Cooper Kupp. I think Jordan Whittington is the guy to have there. Detroit versus Cardinals in Arizona. Lions favored by 3. I think they could do that. I think that they could. I like the Cardinals a lot. We've talked about them before. But yeah, I think that they win this game by more than 3. I think the Lions are going to be upset they lost to the Buccaneers. And I think that they'll be able to kind of shred this Arizona defense. And I could see Kyler Murray actually struggling a little bit against these Lions. I really could. They're just a scrappy team, guys. They're just a scrappy-ass team. So I would be concerned if I'm a Cardinals fan. I think the Lions win this game, come into Arizona, probably win by a touchdown, actually. And I love the Cardinals. I do. But I think the Lions bounce back this week. I don't think they stay down for very long. So go ahead. Go with the Lions. Big things to watch, of course, Jamison Williams. Does he get the same type of usage? Is he going to stay around a 25% target share throughout the course of the season? That could be huge. But then, of course, you got to still watch Sam Laporta. Hopefully he gets more involved. We want a touchdown for Sam Laporta in this game. In fact, we're calling it now. Sam Laporta scores. We get a Sam Laporta touchdown against the Cardinals in this game. On the Arizona side of the ball, do they continue to throw the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr.? I think so. I think they've unlocked him. I think he's here to stay. Hopefully he gets more targets as well. Feeling a double-digit target game for Marvin Harrison Jr. So definitely keep your eye on that. And then, of course, just the rest of the receivers. If Marvin Harrison is fed, do we see Greg Dortch get more involved? Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, where does that all go to? Last week, it was pretty much just Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride. This week, I'm just curious to see again, just growing that sample size, right? And then just the James Conner, Trey Benson splits. Trey Benson's been out there a decent bit throughout this season. So does Trey Benson start to push James Conner? Who knows, right? Probably not. It's probably going to take an injury. But either way, Benson's been on the field. So I'm just kind of continuously watching that backfield split. Next, we have the Chiefs versus the Falcons in Atlanta. Chiefs favored by 3.5. And yeah, we'll go with that. I don't think this is a good game for the Falcons. I think that Steve Spagnuolo defense is going to give Kirk Cousins a lot of fits. I think that's very, very hard to pass against. And yeah, I think this will be very, very tough for the Falcons. I think 3.5 is easy for the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will pretty easily go down the field on this Falcons defense and be good, right? I mean, this is Patrick Mahomes we're talking about here. Sunday Night Football, so back-to-back primetime games for the Falcons and Kirko Chains. Hopefully it's close. 3.5 point spread suggests it'll be close, but I do think that the Chiefs win this game and cover that spread. We're watching out for Xavier Worthy. We're watching out for Rashee Rice's usage, but the big thing that I'm going to be looking out for is Travis Kelce. I think we can see a Travis Kelce bounce back against the Falcons. The Falcons have some pretty good corners, so I can see Travis Kelce being utilized in this game a bit more than he has been this season. So keep your eye on that. Watch this Chiefs offense, and then, of course, the backfield. Is it a split? Is there a leader? Who is it? Kansas City Chiefs backfield, very important to keep our eye on. And then, of course, on the Falcons, just do they take a step forward? Does Kirk Cousins start to look a little healthier? Who's getting all these targets? Yada, yada, yada. Falcons offense, just got to keep your eye on them. And then we have 2 Monday Night Football games. The first one, Buffalo Bills hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars, expected to win by 5.5. We'll take it. I think the Buffalo Bills continue their domination. Josh Allen's just looking incredible right now, just incredible. We've got to be keeping our eye out for Dalton Kincaid's usage. This is bad, right? He has been off to a terrible, terrible start so far this season. Hopefully he can bounce back in this game against the Jaguars. Keep your eye on that. And then just the rest of the receiving weapons in Buffalo. And then also, Ray Davis. Does he continue to grow his snap share behind James Cook? I think so. I really do think that Ray Davis will be a problem at some point this season. So if you can get him, get him. On the Jaguars side of the ball, big player to watch is Brian Thomas Jr. Gabe Davis revenge game, right? Like this could be huge for Gabe Davis going up against his former Bills. Maybe start him in DFS. That sounds like a fun little flex play right there. But yeah, Gabe Davis on Jacksonville, revenge game against the Bills. We're watching him. We're watching Brian Thomas. If Evan Ingram plays, we're going to keep an eye on his usage. If he's out, we'll see what Brenton Strange looks like. And then Christian Kirk, can he bounce back? This should be a game script for Christian Kirk. But does the offense just like Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. more now? That's the big thing to watch. And then, of course, Tank Bigsby, he didn't get any opportunity last week due to an injury. Can he come in and split the backfield with Travis Etienne again? That's going to be something huge to monitor in this game. And then lastly, we have the Bengals hosting the Commanders, favored by 7.5. I think the Commanders could definitely cover that. I think that's pretty easy for them to cover, even if it just comes down to garbage time. I think the Bengals do still win this game. Yeah, but I think the Commanders can cover it. I think Jaden Daniels is a playmaker. Brian Robinson has looked good. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals team hasn't quite yet. So I think the Commanders cover. Do still think the Bengals pick up their first win of the season. Got to keep our eye on Jamar Chase. And then the rest of the receivers, really. Mostly Jamar Chase and Mike Gesicki are the two to watch. Keep an eye on the backfield split as well. Chase Brown hasn't done anything, but can he come back? Who knows? Probably not. Probably still a Zach Moss game. And then Washington, Jaden Daniels, how many carries does he get? Continue watching this Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler split. So far, it's been Ryan Robinson really leading the way, but Austin Eckler has looked good in his opportunity. So does this backfield keep trending in the right direction? That's something to watch. And then, of course, Terry McLaurin. Does he still continue to be underutilized? If so, this could be very concerning and maybe a bit of a sell indicator for Terry McLaurin going forward. Keep your eye on this game. I think the Commanders cover, but the Bengals win. Those are our picks for the week. Before I sign out of here, I wanted to answer some questions here in the chat. I saw some good ones coming in, and then we'll sign out. Let's see. MV Prof asks if he can drop Corum. No. Do I trade Drake London, Tank Dell, and Brian Robinson for Lab McConkey, Terry McLaurin, Jordan Mason, and Cortland Sutton? No. In fact, Drake London, Tank Dell, and Brian Robinson are all three of the best pieces in this trade. You need a flex. Alec Pierce, Tank Dell, or Chris Olave. If Nico Collins is out, Tank Dell. If Nico Collins is active, Chris Olave. We're not starting Alec Pierce. If you have A.J. Brown, Kupp, and Walker, what do? You cry about it. You just cry about it. Maybe try to sell A.J. Brown or Cooper Kupp. I'm holding on to Kenneth Walker for sure. I think that guy's a stud. I don't think you can get enough value. You can maybe get something good enough to fill in the gaps for Kupp or A.J. Brown right now, but for the most part, you probably just got to hold. Should I drop Jalen Wright for Jordan Whittington? I would say no. I think Jalen Wright is definitely still worth rostering. Would you buy low on Tank Dell? Yes. Why are there 2 Monday night games? Because the NFL hates Eastern time zone. Is Foreman taking over the lead back role? No, I don't think so. Would you trade Kenneth Walker and Drake London for Jonathan Taylor and Zay Flowers? No. Jonathan Taylor's a big sell for me, and I'm not a big Zay Flowers fan, so I'm going to take the Kenneth Walker and Drake London side. Romeo Doubs or Christian Watson, full PPR rest of season. I'm a Christian Watson stan, so I'm going to go with Christian Watson here. I still believe in his explosiveness and athleticism with Jordan Love. I think we'll see some Christian Watson spike weeks, and I want that player. Am I feeling better? A little. Just a little. Would you trade Achane for CMC Plus? Yeah, actually. It depends on what that plus is, but yeah, I think so. I think that Achane still has those injury concerns, as your question points out. And then also, would you trade Garrett Wilson? Yes. Yeah, I would look to down tier Garrett Wilson or use him to get into the Jamar Chase sweepstakes or something like that. But yeah, I would definitely put Garrett Wilson on the block and see what you could get. I like trading him for sure. I think you can get a good haul. Would you trade Achane and Mostert for Gibbs? No, I would hold on to those players. DeMarcus Robinson or Lab McConkey? Lab McConkey. Minshew or Kirk Cousins? Let's go with Minshew. I think that this will be tough sledding for Kirk Cousins against that Chiefs. Try to get Rice for Kupp. If you could pull that off, that's huge. I doubt you could do it with the injury now. Rice has been rising astronomically. So he's very hard to get. But yeah, if you could do this, absolutely. Drop Marvin Mims for Jalen Tolbert or Penix. In Superflex, get Penix. If it's single quarterback, Jalen Tolbert. And that should do it. Would you trade Kupp for Pittman? I think I would hold Kupp. I'm not a big Pittman fan right now. I just don't think he's the wide receiver that is a good match with Anthony Richardson. I just don't think so. And lastly, Mark Andrews for T. Higgins. Hold on to Andrews. Definitely hold on to Andrews. That guy is awesome. He's a stud. Don't give up on the Andrews. He'll be fine. He's just been injured. Hadn't really been taking part of much this training camp. He'll be back up to full speed soon. Keep Andrews. Guys. Oh, yeah, if you can get Chris Olave for Cooper Kupp, I would do that for sure. Cool. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. This has been a wonderful week of the Wake and Take. You guys have been an awesome audience as always. I hope you guys tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have Eric Baltman from the FFPC as we talk a little bit of just our reactions to the season so far, some of his thoughts on this week's games and rest of season. So that's going to be a fantastic episode. Make sure you get ready for that. Eric is the man. You guys have a terrific Thursday. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. And you guys have a wonderful week. I'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, here on the Player Profiler YouTube channel. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.